Let me ask you something. What is the single most expensive thing you are going to buy in the next 5 years? And why is nobody helping you plan for it? If you have young kids in the Bay Area, the honest answer is probably not your house and not your cars. It is raising the children. Full-time care for one young child here can run north of 30 grand a year. And that is before anyone says the words private school. Here's what is strange about it. People in tech will compare RSU refreshes and mortgage rates all day long. And then they go completely silent on the line item that actually decides how much they can save in their highest earning decade. So today I want to talk about it directly. I'm going to walk through what family life here actually costs, how to use the dependent care FSA and the catch that hits high earners, how to think about 529 plans when you earn too much for the easy breaks, and how all of this fits into your cash flow. Let's get into it. Let's start with the numbers most planning conversations skip right over. Full-time infant and toddler care in the Bay Area, whether that is a daycare spot or a nanny, commonly runs somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 a year per child. A nanny for two can run higher. And none of that is deductible in any real way. All of it comes out of after-tax income. Then comes school. Private K-12 tuition across San Francisco and the peninsula often runs from the high 30s into the 60s per child per year. A family with two kids in private school can be writing six figures in tuition checks every year, all of it post-tax. This is the part of the budget I walk through in the breakdown of where a $500,000 Bay Area income actually goes. Childcare and education are very often the reason a household that looks rich on paper feels like it is barely keeping up. The income is real. The spend is real. The goal is not to feel guilty about either one. It is to route as many of those dollars as possible through the few structures that actually give you a break. So let's talk about the most direct tool, the dependent care FSA. The idea is simple. You set aside pre-tax money from your paycheck and use it for qualifying care. You never pay federal income tax, and in a lot of cases, not California tax either on those dollars. For a top bracket household, that is a real discount on spending you were going to do anyway. And here's the news worth acting on. For 2026, the dependent care FSA limit went up from $5,000 to $7,500. That is the first real increase since the 1980s. More room in the one account that shelters childcare directly is a genuine win, and it is the first thing a tech family with young kids should set up at open enrollment. Now the catch, because there is one, and it lands right on this audience. These plans are subject to non-discrimination testing, which exists to keep a plan from favoring highly compensated employees. At a company full of high earners, that testing can actually force the plan to refund part of what the high earners signed up for. So you might not get to keep the full amount you elected. It is still worth maxing because some shelter beats none. Just do not build your entire plan around a number the plan might later claw back. Ask your benefits team how their testing has shaken out in past years. Next, education savings, and the workhorse here is the 529. The engine is simple. Money grows tax-free, and withdrawals for qualified education are tax-free at the federal level. For a high-income California family, that is most of the value, so let me be clear-eyed about the state side. California has historically offered no state tax deduction for 529 contributions, and the deduction the state has recently introduced comes with income limits that a typical dual-tech household sits well above. So do not fund these accounts expecting a California write-off. You fund them for the tax-free growth, full stop. What high earners can actually use is scale and timing. There's a rule called superfunding that lets you front-load 5 years of the annual gift exclusion into a 529 all at once. For a couple, that is up to $190,000 per child in one shot without touching your lifetime exemption. Do that early and you get decades of tax-free compounding. And these accounts are far more flexible than they used to be. They can now cover a meaningful amount of K-12 tuition each year. And unused money can be rolled into the child's Roth IRA up to a lifetime cap, subject to some rules on account age and earned income. The old fear of overfunding a 529 just is not what it was. Last piece, and this is the one that ties it together. The biggest mistake I see is treating childcare as a fixed cost to be endured instead of a variable to be planned around. It is the largest swing factor in a young tech family's budget. It deserves the same attention you give your equity. So map it against your income, including the lumpy parts. Your RSU vests and your bonuses are exactly the cash that can fund a superfunded 529 or a year of tuition without wrecking your monthly budget. But that only works if you decide it in advance, instead of letting the shares land and quietly dissolve into everyday spending. And there is a sequencing question that is unique to these years. Childcare is brutal and it is finite. It often ends right as private school begins, so the expense does not disappear, it just changes shape. Model the whole arc from infant care all the way through school years as one long expense curve, not a series of surprises. Once you can see that curve, you can decide which years to lean on cash flow, which years to lean on savings you set aside earlier, and how aggressively to fund that 529 before the tuition years. So here's the bottom line. Raising kids in the Bay Area is one of the largest financial undertakings of your life, and it is hiding in plain sight inside a budget everyone treats as untouchable. Use the dependent care FSA for what it shelters. Fund your 529s for tax-free growth, not for a deduction you are not going to get. And plan the whole childcare-to-tuition arc against your real income, instead of meeting it one surprise at a time. The cost is not going away. Whether it derails your savings is the part you actually control. If you want to talk through your specific situation, the link to schedule a call is in the description. And if you haven't subscribed to Vested yet, my weekly newsletter for Bay Area tech professionals, the link for that is down there too. I'll see you next week.